Welcome back to Tutorial Tidbits. I'm Elizabeth St. Hilaire, and this week I want to talk to you about a very simple technique that I use to paint papers that I'm going to use for white. So when I use white papers in my collage work, I typically use text and type and oxidation. That means that I use big fonts and small fonts and very tightly packed type and very wide open space type, like from children's books, and I use all that for shading. And then oxidation means that I use some papers that are off-white or old papers that are pushing to yellow, and I use all that for shading in white. So I generally don't paint a lot of white paper, and I get asked that question a lot. How do I handle white? Because I think people sometimes think they're just going to use plain white paper in the white and then it just looks flat. So I use text and type and oxidation, but I also have a little splatter technique that I use on a very specific rice paper, and that gives me a speckled white that is often really pretty when you're doing florals. And my current online workshop, Fabulous Florals, just opened this week, and it is something where bouquets often will incorporate white flowers. So if you are interested in joining Fabulous Florals, you can still register. It's going to be open for registration throughout the 5 weeks, but we are still only in the very beginning, and that is on my website at paperpaintings.com/online workshops. So I've got some examples to show you. Here's one that I'm going to show you right now of that speckled paper. You can see that right there on that white flower and how that works on the white flower. So it is a white flower, but it gives it some shading and some life to have a colored speckle on it. So I'm going to show you how to do that today out in the garage studio. So if you've got a few minutes, and I have a feeling that you do, come on out and learn how to make a very speckly white paper that you can use in your fabulous florals. Welcome back. So today I've decided to do a warm color splatter. So I'm going to do a little combo of benzimidazzolone yellow medium. You hear how that rolls off my tongue? That's not an easy one to say. And pyrrole orange. I'm using fluid acrylics, as I always do, by Golden. I've got a 1-inch soft bristle brush, and I've got my palette knife. You don't need to have a palette knife. You could have a second brush. What we're just going to do is tap the brush against the palette knife. So you could use a pencil, a toothbrush, anything that you can tap against. All right. So, but you do want a soft bristle brush for the one that you're using, because you want a brush that's going to release the paint and let it splatter. I've got a sheet of shiny palette paper here, and this is a roll of rice paper that I specifically love for this technique. It is unsized, so means it is highly absorbent and not polished or coated with sizing on either side. What does that mean? That means that when I splatter into it, the color is going to absorb and the little dots are going to fray out slightly softly. And that is the property of the rice paper. So here's an example of one piece that I did previously with a cool color combo, with a combo of purple and teal blue. The rice paper just absorbs and lets the droplets sort of spread out. And I also really like the way that the rice paper tears and glues down. So this is my favorite. That's just a small piece of this larger roll. And I will, this paper, as well as all the other products that I use on my tutorial tidbits, are on my Amazon shopping resource page. And I will give you that link below. So I've got my brush, and I've got a bucket of water off to the side here, and I'm going to start with my benzimidazzolone yellow. I'm going to put a little bit of that down on the palette sheet. You don't need much at all, because the Golden fluid acrylics are super, super de-duper highly pigmented. And when we add water to them, they're still going to remain vibrant. So we're going to add a lot of water to this. And you can see that even with a lot of water, that yellow is still really, really vibrant. That is because of the pigment level in the Golden paints, and a little goes a long way. So I'm going to slide this off to the side. I'm going to bring my rice paper, my favorite rice paper, back. This comes on a roll, obviously. And I'm going to now tap gently to create the splatter of the yellow. Now, the further away I get from it, or the little bit less water that I might use, I could get smaller taps. You just have to play with the tapping and the distance that you are from the paper. I'm getting bigger taps here because I'm below the camera and I don't want to get paint all over the camera, but you know, you can play with the tapping, you can play with the amount of water. If you use a little less water, your droplets will probably be a little tighter, and more water will make them bigger. So here's a little less water, and I can keep them a little smaller. So I'm just going to go around and gently tap, 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 tap. And there I've got my yellow splatters. Now I'm going to come in and do the same thing with my Pyro Orange. I'm going to put it off to the side on the palette sheet, add water, and tap. And this is a very simple way to make a very nice white paper that's not completely white. Now we've got a lot of color going on in here, and I would be using that. I wanted to show you another example here in this floral that I created. I use the tapped dotted paper right here, and I have peach and orange on it, so it becomes part of the highlight of those flowers. So it's only showing up right in that one area, but there I'm using it not so much as white, but as the highlight in the peach and orange. So it's very light, but it's still got the peach and orange in it. So if I'm doing florals, I can use this paper that we've just created as the highlight in something like a daffodil or a very light white flower. So, and when it dries, it'll be a lighter. So you're getting an effect of the yellow looking a little darker because it's wet. But when we look at the small dots of orange and some of the yellow up here, you can see that it is starting to get lighter. So that I would also use on the belly of a white bird. I will often use on a belly of a white bird a little bit of speckly paper as well. So the opportunities for this are endless, and it's very easy to achieve, and it definitely looks the best on rice paper, but you can try it and practice it on other papers, of course. But this is my favorite paper for the technique. This is a little wet, so it's still looking wet. Here it is dry. And you can see that with rice paper, the color soaks all the way through when you add so much water. So I can tear this on either side. So happy Friday, and I hope you're having a great week, and thank you for being here.